Oh, whoa. Yes, God.
When did the Arabic women's call come to my mouth? The answer is 1998 when I became Za. I'd never heard it before. It just came to me. It's with an L at the between. It's a. You have to put your tongue at the roof of right where your teeth meets the mouth, the gums. La 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 la. Not yeah 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 yeah. That's a Mexican joyous thing.
Joyous Mexicans?
Yes.
That sounds good to me. Guys, welcome back to Jacob V Weekly. I believe we're at episode 99. Exactly.
How auspicious.
Mm-hmm. It's auspicious, all right. I would say. And I'm here with my dear friend, Za.
I am.
So, astrologically speaking, I do want you to know that, because we've covered this for episode 100 that's coming up, that we are in a tumultuous and turbulent time.
We're in a liminal period, kind of like being at a number 99 spot. Like we're about to roll over with the Jacob V podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the beginning or it could be the end.
We don't know.
It could be the first, the last, the everything.
This is the whole point of me being on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Is so great. Is there's a union or a juncture or a joining that needs to occur in order to restore balance to the planet. Because I think I just want to share with your audience, and thank you so much for having me on today.
Honey, anytime.
That if you too wake up every morning in a pool of existential dread sweat and say, what the fuck is going on? I think I have some ideas about how to restore balance to your heart, maybe? All hearts?
We got to jump right in.
Okay.
We got to jump right in. Before we start, reach out to Caddyshack of New Hamel, Illinois. It's actually just Hamel. Save a life for 9, caddyshackil.org. I forget to do that if I don't do it. You know what I mean? It's early enough now.
I love it.
How are we going to do this?
Okay. I have to just recognize that I'm just one woman speaking from my own journey. And I come from a place of privilege. I recognize that. I've traveled 40 countries and 45 states in search of answers. And I know that travel comes with some opinions lately about the goods and the bads that come with that. But I've been able to do so relatively unfettered, and I recognize my place of privilege, and I don't want to use my voice and not listen to others. So I want this to be a dialogue as well. We also must recognize before we enter this conversation that capitalism as a system is inherently flawed and imbalanced and destructive for women and children and the planet. Can I get an amen?
And betas like me.
Yes.
I'm not winning out there.
No.
Go ahead.
Also, we have what I think the best way for me to begin is also recognizing that there's a giant imbalance on Earth right now. Okay, and it's comes from a misunderstanding. It's not any more than that. It's just a misunderstanding, and I think we can clear it up.
I think we got to try to at least start.
If we don't try, we won't get anywhere.
Yeah, I mean I've always said that. Jesus said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Well, if we wanted to start with religion, we could.
That's been a common theme of the show, so if we want to knock that out, it's going to come up anyway.
Let's begin there as well then.
Please.
The first commandment ruined everything for women. And when we're talking about the genders right now, we'll get to the blurring of the lines and how the binary is broken. But for now, back when the patriarchy began to rise, agriculture and property was occurring, and the church was writing their doctrines into Bibles and Qurans and Torahs. Really, the first commandment fucked us from the very start.
Which one is that?
There's only one God. You shall have no other God but me.
Oh, that's a hard one.
It took down all of our idols, all of the women, all of the goddesses. Anything feminine was gone. Any representation or story was suddenly not allowed. And so it shut the image down. And that's where we forgot. And if we could just flip the script on this whole Adam and Eve bullshit, it was probably men that had to cover up. The nipples are the reason hiding the nipples is how we got in this fucking mess. If we cover up the nipples, we're covering up the femininity and that's creating such an imbalance.
You know, you can see my nipples on patreon.com/JacobV. I just did a podcast with Emma in the pool because I agree with you that it's, I get weird if I notice nipples on other animals.
Really?
But the animals don't know about their own nipples.
Well, and you've been socialized and indoctrinated into a nippleless culture as saying that only a certain gender, which we already will establish is bullshit anyway, can't show their nipples. So women have to cover. The source of women's creativity is and pleasure. The source of our energy and our power is in pleasure because we suffer, because we carry the pain. Okay. Now, men, it seems, because they lack that knowledge of pain, want to create it and take the pleasure. So we really need to flip that script. If men are out creating violence, doctrines, in fact, every single rule we have is written by a certain group of people and they happen to be aligned with the masculine gender. Everywhere I look, you know, government, corporate body, rule, regulation, statute, when I turn on the news, everything has been written, designed, debated, executed, and perpetrated by men. We live in a man's world. This is still true. It's going to be true unless we learn how to rebalance things and listen differently. This is sounding so boring. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be funnier.
Listen, it's who said that? Why would you interrupt yourself like that? I was riveted.
Oh, well, okay.
I'm riveted. Now, because we've talked about this before, and I was just thinking about this, a concept that you and I talked about on this very show before we started using these lights. That
I like them very much.
Yeah, it really helps me in post also, which is short for post-production, which is the process that you take the video and that I think we could solve a lot of the problems we're having right now politically at a national scale if we decentralized a lot of these offices, and if instead of one president, you split those responsibilities amongst 3 people that have to cooperate every day.
Yeah. I completely agree.
It's like and the fact that like the stock market is so reactionary to the trends in election campaigns is just crazy because one person should not be that important.
Well, it really comes down to one system designed by men to serve men and continue the power of putting men in those places to just complete self-generate. You know, we're just going to get more war, more violence, more poverty, more restrictions on wombs, which, by the way, oh my God, we get to that in a minute. Can we start with language? I took a lot of linguistics classes in college, and I just find it fascinating.
I did too. Yeah, and it's essential to obviously how we communicate, but then the things that are encoded in the language that you use to communicate as you develop as a person nuances your brain development in a very real scientific way.
So if we could go back a few millennia,
Hello!
It's true.
Whoa, yeah!
He is correct. If we go back and crank it all the way back to, before agriculture, before we just decided to say, this is mine, this is yours, this is
I wish we could go back to before agriculture. When I see a whole field and it's one thing, I think, what a waste.
Oh my God, monocropping is a whole
How much driving do I have to do to steal myself a salad?
Oh my God. So many things in that. All right, so if we were talking energetically before patriarchy, really, before we had families, there were only mothers and sons. Before agriculture, there were only mothers and sons. There was no, this is my kid, and men possessing a woman to understand what his offspring is. We used to use, I'm postulating, our left and our right side equally. Okay, and then over time, as things developed, we get tools, we build fences, we start writing things down. which really is where the patriarchy came in and the Bible was written,
See,
all that.
it's just like I've been saying. I said it today. Throw the internet away.
We started preferring the right side. Energetically, we know this is the masculine side, the women's the left side. And over time, if you look culture across culture, millennia over millennia, the left side is looked at as dirty, unclean, unfit, and feminine. And it's all aligned that way. This is really big picture here. If we could just use these broad brush strokes.
Mm-hmm. I like brush.
Brush strokes.
Let's brush them up.
What percentage of the world's left-handed, V?
9.
About that. We are not talking about generational trauma. We are talking about millennial ancestral trauma to the half of your body that is representing the feminine, the part that protects others, the collective, okay? It is not the unclean side. It is not the side that needs to be diminished and undervalued. If we had balance on the planet, we would have equal left and right-handed people. And another thing, on the business of language, we've been brainwashed since English came around in this vision that, and the political spectrum, that right is correct, that right is masculine, correct, and all of a sudden, within the past 70 years, Republican. So we have, over several generations, continued to validate and verify that if you are on the right, you are righteous, you are correct, and you pray at the altar of white nationalism and Christian nationalism.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And it's time to stop and back up. Because the God that we might consider coming to us has no gender and would like us to stay on the planet and not serve only itself, which is a very small sect of people who want to limit and starve the rest.
Did you see that clip of Howie Mandel talking about the time Richard Pryor came up to the Comedy Store and introduced himself as God?
I missed that.
And he was apparently, who knows how coked up he was. Maybe he wouldn't remember any of this. Richard Pryor, that is. But he came in and he was very serious. And he said, I'm God. I'm here to pick up my son. I told my son I would be here. Have you guys seen my son? And he describes his son. And he says, where is he? What happened to him? And he makes people in the audience start to tell him. And then he starts asking for the people that a lot of whom were crucified thereafter, right? His friends and whatnot. And he goes down a list of tons of people throughout history. And he goes, okay, all right. What about Martin Luther King? Can I talk to Martin Luther King? And then they have to tell him. He makes people in the audience admit what society did to these people. And he says, what about Kennedy? What about his brother? You know what I mean? What about what's wrong with their nephew's voice? What's going on? He didn't say that. This was before then. And it's called spasmodic dysphonia. It's very serious.
Sounds lovely.
And he stops after he goes on this tirade of asking everybody what happened to all these nice people throughout history. Maybe most of them are religious figures. I don't remember. And he looks up and he points at the audience. He says, okay, you're on your own. And he leaves. I would love if he didn't remember any of that because he was full of cocaine. But that's kind of the approach. I just rewatched season 5 of Supernatural. Oh my God. If you here's the thing. I don't actually think anyone who actually knows anything about Catholic dogma for real was involved in that at all. I actually think they just watched the 1999 film Dogma
and went from there.
And but a lot of it lines up. And in there you start to think that a God, if a God was a singular entity to refer to, wouldn't necessarily be paying attention all the time. And that that we live on something that we were, given to be a part of. Yes. And that it's like being left alone all day in the summer when mom's at work.
Yes.
And, mom's not, well, maybe nowadays your mother is on a camera watching you when you're home alone. Back in my day, my mom didn't have that technology.
And she was hoping you were making good choices.
Yeah. And that everything was set up in a way that, it was relatively safe and whatnot. So she could trust that she could leave us there.
Right.
And if you believe that, God is a central entity, you have to imagine that there's parts where they're not always watching.
And look what we've done.
What did we do to the polar bears?
And on and on. I mean, polar bears are a great example because it's just not.
It's so stark.
It's such a pathetic, depressing.
Because even when we save them, they look like shit. That poor bear at the zoo is so skinny. I don't know what we're going to do. They can't build up the mass.
Well, I think we could fix this.
I've had a vision of a very high-tech polar bear sanctuary that's like several kilometers in diameter, and it's climate controlled, and they can interact with their natural prey in a, but it'd be very expensive. But, we could increase the numbers of polar bears. But, that's like...
We really need the ice to stay too, though.
I know. That's the thing. We also need the ice to stay where it is. Did you see The Day After Tomorrow?
I can't watch stuff like that.
Yeah.
I already have so much.
They say that's what killed Michael Jackson.
Oh, God.
He was so horrified of climate change and the effect it could have on his children. He was really dedicated to that cause. And then he saw The Day After Tomorrow, and that was it.
He imploded.
He couldn't handle it.
No. I would have done the same. So if we take this notion of right and left, this is how we could address the climate crisis, distribution of resources. I mean, I came to a point at a very young age realizing that our overconsumption in America directly relates to the rest of the world suffering.
It's almost like it was intended that way.
It really isn't. It's just our view of capitalism and way of valuing individuality over every other goal because of our masculine imbalance and obsession with achievement and non-collective values and abuse, honestly, that we've gotten to this mess. We are 69th in the world as far as parity goes in the representation in our House and Senate. That means women and men represented. I really believe in my heart of hearts if we passed parity as a law of the land and had 50% women and 50% men, and when I say women, anyone who does not identify as a man, so that includes any person that is non-binary, trans,
that they would require that the representation in government would be representative of the actual demographics of the population they represent.
Bingo.
Yeah.
We could restore balance.
I think people just think that that's really hard to do, so they quit thinking about trying that. But
Mexico did it. 100%.
Well,
They've
also,
done it.
if you were to start from scratch right now, that's what you would start with.
Lenny Kravitz thinks we should do it.
I think Lenny Kravitz should wear a tasteful boxer brief under his pants. Because sometimes he does a high kick and he'll split those leather pants open and his dong flops out.
There are worse things.
No, it's a nice piece.
I'd
quit wearing boxer briefs if I had a piece like that. Woo, girl, let's pull it up. Oh. No, I'm busy. But no, I think if you were to start a civilization anew right now, you would say, okay, we need at least, gender parity in representation and leadership. You would want to have some kind of representative parliamentary arrangement where you feel like the different age groups are faith-based, categories of people, that everybody would have some kind of say in.
I think at least race and gender would be a great place to start.
I think it's a good place to start.
In the corporate boardrooms as well.
Why not?
We would not have this mess. We would not have a climate crisis. We would not have a hunger issue. We would not have economic imbalance if women were represented. Because guess what? We are collectivist in our hearts. We are interested in pooling our resources that we go further. We're the ultimate Ubuntu. And we could do it. I don't know. It's all quite overwhelming, but if we look at it in this phrase, there is no opposite to love. Okay, so MAGA and Project 2025 might want to divide us into us and them, and that, they're the woke ones. However, if we just sit down and have a quiet refrain together, we realize that we're actually all dreaming and that we are all one. And then if we realize there is no opposite to love, there is no us and them, and then we're all in this together.
But that's not what those people that are in charge of that stuff want.
No, of course not. We're a direct threat, and that's why they call us woke. And they create fear. Here's why would you never see a protester at a Trump rally? Why do you never see anyone speaking up at a Trump rally, unlike we see at Harris's rallies that people are speaking truth to power and trying to further their agenda, and have quite a lot of liberal splintering and infighting about what should be done. Why? How has Trump done that? Any ideas? It's because the language he uses is so simple and has captivated the hearts of people and made things very, very simple for them to understand and resonate with. And it's been done many, many times. The lowest common denominator, like the word migrant crime, for example.
Migrant crime.
There's no such thing, first of all. And also, the crime is crime. And there is no record that people that are newcomers to our country, documented or undocumented, create any more problems than our general population. But I will say, if we divide it along gender lines, that you can definitely see the imbalances once more.
Listen, what are we going to do about the at-risk groups that you and I interact with who have their own prejudices that's going to maybe keep them from voting in their own best interest? We've
got to, Stacey, I just defer always to Stacey Abrams' wisdom and bravery, lifting people up, doing the grassroots groundwork, getting people to the polls, lifting each other up, speaking truth to power, using our voices. And always coming back to the calm refrain that we are here and we are going to succeed at what we've been challenged to do. A few weeks ago, I really thought that we had no choice, that Trump would take power no matter what. He will intimidate at the polls, cause questioning, uncertainty, even violence at the polls, and the election will fail to be certified. I no longer think that is possible for him to get away with that.
After he got shot, I was like, well, that's that. But but Biden was still the candidate.
Right, things have really shifted.
He should have timed getting shot until nobody could know these things, but it's almost like you got to wonder how much that tipped the scales and if that happening expedited the DNC pushing Biden out.
That was a perfect storm. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I think it all, is coming to a head. I am rather nervous about November 4th, but I do think Harris could win, will win, want her to win, very much so. But even that doesn't solve the problem as much as going within our own hearts and doing the work, which is to have, again, I don't know, sitting down, looking within, and rebalancing our own selves. Why are we having all these problems with, I don't think we're going back. I don't think the Christian nationalist movement wants to regress our rights. I think they want, and this is again,
if they
right?
were really, if they were really about it, they would have more children. There's not enough of them anymore.
Yeah, the vast majority of Americans do not believe in their agenda.
They can't afford to maintain their numbers because the reason me and all my cousins are not, right wingers like our father's collective generation is that we all went to public school.
Yeah, you can't get away with it.
You can't send me to public school in the 90s and then ask me how I turned out so liberal. You sent me to PBS for school.
Where there is a socialist model. That's the thing. K-12 education, we are in this gig pretending with all of our children that there's always lunch for everyone and that there's enough for everybody and that everybody gets a chance and everybody has equal access to education. Yeah. And then we kick them out after graduation. Good luck with that. We fucking lied. Because the reality is that capitalism will eat you up and chew you up and spit you out. We do have a lot of privilege of being in America, but it's still a really hard pill to swallow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the gatekeeping, and the farther you go on, you realize you're privileged so much. I have just kind of walked into so many really nice jobs. And it's self-perpetuating. The more of those I glide into with my, resume of, I had the privilege of going to a 4-year university right out of, a high school where I got an immensely competitive education. Sure. I had no idea how privileged that environment was because I thought it's a public school. I was sick of it. I was sick of how many people there were and like the, just the size of it and whatnot. And I thought it was less than what I have supposed to had done.
Yeah.
But then I realized, oh my God, it was nicer than most of the private schools, certainly the ones we would have had the choice of in terms of resources. And then down the line, all the things that begets. And the fact that I even had access to a business communications class in high school where I learned how to make resumes.
Sure.
And so now, my resume already stands out amongst people who maybe grew up on a farm and went to a public school out there, and maybe they didn't have computers to necessitate a business communications class. And so is their resume going to look at, maybe in 2024 it does. But then you got to be on the grid.
Grid.
Are you on the grid?
I suppose.
Jesus.
I think we would all be better off if everybody raised their heart rate a little bit each day and grew a small garden, and we might have more peace on the earth. But back to Christian nationalism, unfortunately, we are vastly underrepresented on the Supreme Court, and that's how they got Dobbs to go through, which is a whole nother mess. I would like to argue that we have not regressed rights, but we are in a brave new world that is very scary as far as having a womb in this day and age.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about this. We covered it on episode 100 that's not out yet. But
Oh, you've already recorded episode 100? Oh my God.
Parts of it.
I don't know
Parts
about
of it.
this now.
No, parts of it.
What is
Parts
this?
of
Are
it.
we still living 99?
This is 99. 99 hasn't been out yet.
so
I thought I was
lost.
shooting 99 tomorrow, but then that guy, I think, has pushed off on me again. I'm going to pray for him. We're going to be fine.
Okay. Here's the problem. I just would like to submit an idea. Last time I checked, if you had a zygote or a fertilized embryo, okay, if you have it, could science right now grow it into a baby? Yes or no?
No.
No, we can't do it.
Why not?
We are just not there yet. There's so much that goes on between a womb and the person connected to it and the zygote or fertilized embryo that grows into a fetus. I would like to...
Can you scientifically grow a zygote into
a human
baby?
It's a very complex relationship between the womb holder and the growing fetus. If I don't have enough vitamin C and I have a fetus in me, the fetus will take my vitamin C and take it away from me. So it is not a symbiotic relationship. It is a parasitic relationship.
Currently, science has not reached the point where a human zygote can be grown entirely outside of a human body.
So with Dobbs, we were reduced to wombs once more.
Tell the audience what Dobbs is.
Dobbs is the crumpling of Roe versus Wade. So it put abortion back to the states, and states immediately, Missouri being the first one to
We had a trigger ban.
make abortion
I
illegal.
streamed a talk about this a couple weeks ago.
I think I saw it.
And then, and so we talked about that with both my attorney and my astrologer on episode 100, and that Missouri had a trigger ban in place like 2 years before, so that it's because they knew eventually, which shouldn't be legal. If you're passing a law, it should apply to now. Passing laws that have a hypothetical trigger clause does not make any sense to me. It should not be legal.
Well, now back on the ballot is going to legalize it and whatnot in Missouri.
Because I can make a law that says when we invent a time machine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if some clerk digs that shit up in 500 years, then they gotta. What are they gonna come get me?
So
I'm gonna write a law that says if you get a time machine, you gotta come back and get me.
Because I said so.
Because it's in my trigger clause.
Made it law.
Did you read the trigger clause, sir?
So if we've been reduced to wombs, what is the value in actually existing as an independent human if this is all we've been reduced to? So I would like to actually put it out there and I think Louisiana or maybe Alabama recently, I think if you're convicted of rape or incest, you have to have a vasectomy as part of your punishment. because that would really stop the flow of pregnancy. And the problem is within the men, not within the women. So it's all punitive on the womb. We don't even say woman, because what they're after is just a biological function, not an actual human being.
Yeah, if we could just probably do that without y'all, they would probably have got rid of y'all by now.
Exactly.
Which I'm not for.
Of course not.
Which I'm not for. However,
it would be true.
Isn't that interesting that we can't? It's like one of the only things we can't do. You can grow a diamond the size of your face ethically in a lab on solar power, even.
Sure.
Why not? And yet we can't. You can't make me a whole baby. You got to put it in somebody at some point. What if I want a cage-free one? You know what I mean? It seems crazy. But you speak to this.
Uh-huh.
Speak to this.
Yes.
Because you have children. How differently medical professionals and their teams treat you when you are pregnant versus when you are not pregnant.
Oh. I had midwife care. I avoided all
let's
branch
zoom out.
of...
Let's zoom out. Let's zoom out.
Yes.
Let's zoom out. Then why did you choose to pursue midwife care as opposed to what people see as normal, being the vast array of a medical team? Because for the audience, they don't know this. You know this. It's obvious to you. It's not obvious to the audience.
Oh, I don't need a man telling me how my body works. Birth is a biological function that my body is perfectly capable of doing out without any interventions on your part. And the most women in this particular county, if you go to the hospital, they're going to fuck with you. And when they fuck with you, things happen. And then you get, but as long as babies come home safe, healthy, with mom, that's great. Whatever your birth journey is. But I had my baby at home in a pool of water because I trusted my own. I had an orgasmic birth, which was amazing. I won the baby Powerball. Oh my God, that's really strong stuff. It's like berry in there in the cartridge.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is that nicotine?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm cutting back. I usually have a bigger one, but I'm not going to keep replacing the coils on the bigger one because it's silly. Nobody else likes it. It's expensive. This is a much more nuanced device. It matches my wedding band, which I'm wearing on my middle finger because I've lost like 80 pounds.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so yeah, sorry, I didn't mean for that to catch you.
No, it was hella spicy.
That's Pod Juice Rainbow, not a sponsor.
So I do. I love talking birth. I love talking shop. I love being pregnant, and I loved my deliveries. Postpartum's a bitch. Motherhood's hard, but the pregnancy and delivery was great.
And that was I remember this time that it was such a clear biological imperative for you. There's famous footage of us. You're pregnant, maybe with the first one, second one, and we were playing at St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, that was the second one. Yeah,
that would have been the second one.
2014, 15.
Yeah,
15.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish we were further along in our development as a culture. I wish we were more balanced. I used to think that I had a lot more to say about it, but I keep coming back to sitting down and being really intentional about how we make our choices and try not to worry about microplastics and the polar bears. I wish we had more left-handed people. I think that would be better for the earth. I wish that we didn't have this right-left binary. I'm happy for the transgender movement to be coming because we do need to muddy the waters. The reason so many men are leaving their gender is because what they see modeled to them is full of pain and violence, is full of absolutes that are intolerable. And so bringing more of that into the feminine is beautiful. And the reason femininity is muddying into the masculine and what's getting all mixed up is because what's being modeled on that side is really lackluster as well. And so we are really that binary or the line. As long as we soften our hearts, we can bend the line and join the points. Then we have the circle. And then we can realize that there is no opposite to love and that we are all living and basking in the glory of being one. If we can fucking do that and get together as a species, certainly we could get together and rebalance the planet. And that takes a conscious effort on everyone's part to examine the masculine and feminine within you, and also to rise up the voiceless, consume less, be simpler, be more intentional. I don't know. That's what I've realized over time. I come from a place of suffering from a very severe mental illness, and this is after a long journey of being not okay, finally trying to be okay, and I think it's coming to me. Men creating pain and taking pleasure, and women, our power is taking the pain and creating pleasure. That relationship has to, I don't know how to shift that, because that's the way things are. We have bleeders and we have people who shed blood and create the blood. People who they bleed, and people who make others bleed. And how to fix that and merge it together is really something I'm working on. Like, how do we make that stop? Well, I mean, women eventually stop bleeding, that's for sure. Do men stop shooting each other? I don't know. Can we stop wars? Can we stop this?
Here's my thing.
My thing is...
Because I would love an answer to this. And part of the answer includes, without a war, how am I going to get my hands on those lithium ions in the mountains of Afghanistan and Pakistan? Because I'm for it.
If we shut off the internet, would we need it? Are you on lithium?
No, the lithium ions are for the batteries.
Why do we need those?
That's just what the batteries that are in our phones.
I guess we don't need those either.
So you're thinking the day the Earth stood still, where Keanu turns off the lights one final time, and Kathy Bates opens the curtain and she realizes we just got to do it without light bulbs.
Maybe I am going full Luddite, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit? Do you remember when we had a hole in the ozone layer?
Apparently it fixed itself.
Because we quit using a specific type of aerosol?
CFCs, yeah. Chlorofluorocarbons or some adjacent aerosol product, yeah. Could we do that for everything else?
Could we just do some more of that?
Yeah.
Remember when we had a hole in the ozone layer and now we don't?
Yeah, a lot of corporations got involved.
I'm sorry, America. Do you remember when Osama bin Laden was missing and at large for 20 fucking years? And then, now, apparently they shot him 3 times in the face. And then dumped him in the ocean, which I thought was suspicious. But I'm saying that if you stick around long enough, you watch things get better. Problems solve themselves. We used to have a hole in the ozone layer.
Okay. This is good. We're getting somewhere.
So that's what I'm saying. Don't give up.
No, never.
The most motivating thing I've been seeing circulating on the internet is you have to outlive your enemies.
And women do live longer than men.
You gotta outlive the men.
Oh man.
Most of the people I know that are dead now are men.
Well, me too. My kids have a lot of dead uncles and
so on.
and so on. They're all men.
And that's been a thing. We have a mutual friend that we both love very much, who drives a Honda Odyssey, who the women in her family have a tradition of outliving the men in their family by like decades in some cases. And some people struggle to know how to fill that time. Some people look forward to it.
Yeah. Well, women, they surveyed men and women, the happiest women are postmenopausal women in their 50s. And they're usually divorced.
What do you think about that demographic of people?
They're the happiest.
Who, but the ones that are doing the hormone replacement therapy?
HRT, I'm starting that tomorrow.
Okay, because we got to talk about it. What's it for?
Oh. Well, I've had insomnia troubles since November, and also I suffer from bipolar 1, and no psychotropic medication has worked for me. In fact, it's given me great trouble. I've never been so sick as when I've been under the care of a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So I'm not on any meds except for a small sleeping pill right now, and I'm hoping that
just a small one.
Yeah, the HRT is going to help rebalance me and help alleviate my mood swings.
Because
and when I say mood swing, thanks for being there.
Oh, no. I mean,
I was in psychosis for 8 weeks. I was like certified.
I hate to put past tense on anything ever. You know what I mean? I hate to ever say that something's in the past because here's the thing: to develop a fully realized human soul, it has to take place in the cerebellum, which you do not start with. It develops over a long period of time. And so, scientifically speaking, right, that's where the most complicated parts of your personality end up living in your brain.
Okay.
So, I think we have to live this life on this plane to develop into the fully nuanced creature we're supposed to become. And then we ascend to glory as our fully realized selves.
Yes. You grow up and then you grow in.
Yeah.
And then you grow out.
And then you grow out and beyond and amongst and amid.
May I also correct myself? When I say right and left balance, I know that neuroscience has established that there is not really a left and right brain anymore necessarily. And so the correlation with the left and the right-hand side, I'm not talking about left brain, right brain, or even, I guess it is perceived to be on the creative side,
even
or on the logic side.
from a spiritual angle.
Yes, I'm usually speaking in that.
Yeah, we're speaking of the balance and duality that necessitates most life in nature.
Subtle energetics. And when you
This is exactly like what we were talking about the womb.
Yes.
Because you have the Father God and Mother Earth.
Yes.
And there are no fully realized people in the kingdom of heaven who did not suffer the trials and tribulations of a linear life on earth.
Time is a circle. Everything is. And because when you're completely flipped out of your mind on ayahuasca and the Amazon, as I was once, for days on end.
I need you to tell me about that because my wife won't let me do it.
Space camp.
She won't let me even go to Costa Rica. I can't do anything.
Oh, this is much deeper than that. But Costa Rica would be a good place to start.
That's
But
like the touristy version?
I believe you should not take the mother of all drugs out of the Amazon because that's where she belongs and that's where she lives.
Have you seen the fucking mosquitoes though down there, bro?
I lived with them. This was before they developed it as a tourist industry, really. Like now there's like, would you like a massage after your trip? You know, would you like a 3-course meal? No. We were on the Dieta Fuerte for 10 days and drank nothing but ajo sacha tea and like this really watered down soup. And took, bucket baths and had a squat toilet. But as we discover that time is a circle, and if we go back to the birth of everything, we are all sitting in the womb. And also, Jesus, if God sent someone like a son, wouldn't he have sent a woman to save things because we are the creators and the fixers?
Well, my favorite characters in that story are all the women.
Didn't they get written out? See, I was raised Catholic. I don't remember. I don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah, Mary Magdalene and, of course, the Blessed Mother and...
You mean, the woman that birthed Jesus? Mm-hmm. Okay.
All that stuff. The women always felt righteous in the end to me.
Why are we all still tripping on this story, though? Why does that
That's
work
the thing.
for people?
I don't think
this story is so old.
This is what is so hard to explain to Western people about Islam is that, what the best example I've seen of it was in a show called Black Mass about the vampire on the island?
Yep.
Yeah.
I saw one episode that I can't watch that stuff.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. And there's one part where the Muslim sheriff goes to a PTA meeting at the school and they're arguing about the use of the Bible at the school. And he says, listen, my son and I are Muslim. We love Jesus. We enjoy a lot of Jesus's teaching and we believe he was a prophet of God. And then we believe there were several others thereafter, and it is all a part of a continuing text, and much in the way that Christians don't struggle with Judaism as much as they just think, they stopped at the Old Testament, and we pick up at the New Testament, and that's really the only difference. And it's kind of a similar idea if you're trying to compare the chronology, because so much of it is overlapped. Yes. I was just thinking this today again that Ireland is so homogenous that they're just fighting about which church is better for the same Jesus. They're not even disagreeing about which Jesus it is.
They just legalized divorce like less than 30 years ago.
But that's what I'm
so-
saying. That's how homogenized their culture is into that doctrine that they just legalized divorce like recently, but they blow each other up with car bombs because some of them are Protestant, and some of them are Catholic.
Mm-hmm. And if we back up a little bit,
Send them some of who we got over here. They'll be begging for the days.
What's the most homogenous country in the world is Japan, and they are.
Have you ever been there?
I'm going in June.
I have some things I need you to find for me while I'm there.
No problem.
Just that for you to witness or confirm that they exist. I don't even need you to get anything.
I'd be happy to. But the patriarchy is alive and well there, and women are definitely more repressed there. And then there's the absence of religion there. They go to the shrine once a year and practice a Shinto-based religion, which is really not one. And then the exploitation and repression of women exists beyond all cultures. If you look in China, if you look in the vast places in Latin America and throughout Africa, women really still are second-class citizens. So we're not really just focusing on Christian nationalism movement here, but really it's a global problem. I think women are really well equipped to make sure everybody's basic human needs on Earth are met, which I think should be a measure of how we are doing as a globe.
I think mothering as a practice is something that maybe you learn as a teacher too, but the idea that I need to make sure everyone has everything they need so that I can get my own shit done. Because if I leave, in this case, children in a state of dysregulation or just
unprepared.
What's the word though? Not motionless, but like directionless. Directionless. There's a better word for that.
Okay.
But if I leave them without any direction,
yes,
and without anything to occupy their needs, even if it's just their attention span, am I going to be surprised if it dissolves into chaos? No. And whether that's your own children at home, even if it's just one of them, or 30 children in your classroom, or, people that have trusted you to govern them on a larger scale, it just would make sense to me to make sure everyone had enough to keep them kind of moving and grooving so that they don't show up and fuck your shit up.
And what did we have modeled to us instead during the greatest crisis of our generation, which was COVID, I would argue?
I don't know.
I'll
say it. I think 9/11 was worse.
But look at what happened with the corporations and what your statement, it was the exact opposite. The rich got richer by an astronomical amount in a time when we should have thought about taking care of one another. All we did with the corporate model saying that corporations are people, like the most rich people increase their value 5-fold, 10-fold, and let the rest of the world suffer. And now I have to pay $7 a pound for tomatoes.
Tomato? Why are you eating tomatoes?
I love tomatoes.
I do love a tomato.
I'm on keto. It's fucked up. I don't like it.
I'm on Mounjaro.
Okay. How's that working out?
I love it.
I'm on it for brain health. Do you know why keto was originally developed? Epilepsy. For an epileptic.
Yeah.
And so I have a brain disorder and I'm trying to heal it.
Have you ever thought about just chilling out?
I met Couch during COVID.
Hey. What if you just chill for a second?
I know how to rest.
When?
I rested this week.
See, I'm talking about, can you do it on the spot? Watch me. I've been listening to Astro Lori, and she's been teaching me to do exactly that. See how much better that is.
It's so good.
So, you have a garden?
That's a generous term for it. I have some zinnias growing in my front yard. I have intentions to garden next summer.
Next summer.
I've just eradicated the chigger population in my yard.
Red bugs, please.
I red bugs. I paid a fortune to have them eradicated. It's been an 8-year problem.
Okay, but what? Can't you just poison them to death?
I did, and now I can garden next year with my left hand.
Why do you have to garden with your left?
Because I'm left-handed. Actually, I'm 50-50. I'll be doing something.
There's a term for that.
It's ambidextrous. I'm multidextrous, though.
You have to include these things for my audience.
Yes. Sometimes I hold something. I'm like, which hand do I do this with? Because my kindergarten teacher told me that it was wrong to use your left hand. So she tried to get me to be right.
Yeah, that's when that happened to me, too.
Which was incorrect.
Preschool, they didn't even try to make us use a hand. And then kindergarten, it was like, no. You're going to do it in the lines with your right hand.
Because right is righteous and correct and moral. And it's your duty to stay in line with what we say. And that's how we got in this mess, is not allowing for the freedom of creativity and choice. But it's all one choice. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
But I want to know how, if we could infiltrate a Trump rally, how to get their hearts to soften. Because they really do think that they are basking in the glory of the radiant truth.
You know I love you, right?
Yeah.
You know that there's nothing but love here. And I cherish your wisdom and your witness to my own experience. And being able to be a witness to yours has been such a blessing to me. And I wouldn't trade it for a thing. However, if we're going to go to a Trump rally, you're going to need to go home and change.
Okay. Deal.
I'm talking, we can't drive in the zip code.
I have a red romper that would rock.
Yeah, put the red romper on.
Yes.
Definitely different headgear. They have headgear they like there. I'll get you some.
I need a hat with an eagle on it.
I'll make sure not to spend money on one. We'll commandeer one.
Maga, 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 maga,
Yeah.
maga, maga,
There's a
maga,
deli
maga,
I
maga,
like
maga, maga, maga,
in
maga, maga.
Ladue.
Yeah.
Where there's always a few of them around there. I can
Oh.
snag one in the bathroom.
A MAGA hat at a deli in Ladue?
Yeah.
Well, I think the great misunderstanding could be coming to an end if we all just sat down and did what we just did and really searched our souls for what is a little bit more.
You know what everyone else is saying?
What?
Everyone else is saying, maybe we can correct the great misunderstanding. But they think it's going to require like World War III first.
God. Just, you mean with bombs? Like the bombs?
Maybe. I don't want that. I'm certainly not willing that. But that's why everyone's talking about a collapse or World War III, or everyone's like, you got to learn how to store potable water.
That's a lot of people in the Trump camp believe that. I know I'm very close with some
And
of
that
them.
side of there's always been a prepper scene, and it's
Yeah.
it's been happening at least since 9/11, because that's how far back I can remember.
It's a long time. I'm dating the smartest boy from Tokyo right now. And he's trying to cure blindness at WashU, which is really great. I think
love that.
I think he can do it. I really do. Anyways, his dad called him up when he was 23 years old. He's 45 now. And he said, we're going to change your last name. He's like, why? He's like, because your grandmother because of the bomb in Japan, because he grew up there are no living survivors of her name. And she had no sons. So they changed his name to, it's really cool. It means lucky luck. Like it's a double luck last name. It's very cool. But that knowledge and that memory of that time that we did that and that it happened is still out there. And the Japanese children are well educated.
Well, he's not even that old.
No.
You know,
He's the grandsons.
Right.
He's the
but
grandson.
that's not that far away.
No.
So people, are like, that's a very real example of how that's not something that happened 100 years ago.
No.
Certainly not any longer than that.
80 years ago next year.
And so in a single person's lifespan, you have a guy whose last name is different because an entire branch of his family tree was wiped out.
Was decimated, yeah. We can't do that again. And we need to stop the genocide in in Gaza and all of these things that are happening.
Any recommendations on that one?
Okay, well, the body count is really hard to reconcile.
Right.
Because I have a lot of Jewish friends, and I see their point and perspectives, and I honor the Israeli military. I've known a lot of people to get out of the Israeli military. It's a very hard place to work, and you have to go. There's conscription there. You must serve for 2 years if you're a boy. And it's a rough, very hard indoctrination into the Israeli military. And it seems like they've killed, 45,000 people. Is that correct? It's a lot of people. And we need to fix that. And I think it's just how people look at who's God is. That seems to be the problem. Can we come together?
It's obviously much worse than the example I mentioned of Ireland.
It's much worse.
It's on a much larger scale.
Yeah, more than 40,000.
Thank you.
Yep.
And
40,000 people.
you like that? Did you like how I just conjured that number up like that?
I was wondering what the signal was. I'm like, do we have to go?
No,
It's 5 o'clock.
no. I wanted to fact check.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, because I didn't want someone in the comments to have that option, because maybe the number was greater too, since we checked maybe even this morning. Sure. You know what I mean? Sure. I mean, we should just put a fucking ticker down here. But then we also have Ukraine.
Oh God.
And then I'm starting to worry less about Taiwan.
Okay. The Chinese and the Russians were flying jets together the other day in an exercise, and they flew right by one of our bases as if to say, he's my friend. Look at us. Which is a little disconcerting.
I think you know what I think is weird? That global politics are decided by body language of people in airplanes. All the time they're like, oh, North Korea is demonstrating. They marched out they brought the missile out and just let you take pictures of it with your satellite. Like, that's not they blew something up in their own testing area. Like, can we not attach all this emotional information to military behavior?
So if we really did reassign everyone in the world that's serving in a military capacity to a retraining camp to teach them the new story, and to reassign them to humanitarian duties and begin to really take care of our population, literacy, nutrition, education, all of the things that really measure greatness of a society instead of bombs and exports and profits. If we retrained them, and it's just a matter of misunderstanding. You need to relearn how to use your brain and how to use your body to the greater good. And this notion of right and wrong, it's all a bunch of bullshit. We need to come together and look after one another and realize there is no opposite to love. There is only the reaction to the lack of or need for it. Why do we have so much violence? Because someone wasn't loved properly or doesn't understand how to love themselves. And therefore they react to it by hurting others or planning to hurt others or instructing others to create violence. So men, I think, by and large, run the military and create these bombs and these wars and these aggressions and these profits. Couldn't we just get them to rethink it? Sit down, dudes. Sit down, Kim Jong-un. Sit down. It's just, it seems so simple sometimes. And when I get really overwhelmed, I just try to think in those terms. We could reassign everyone and serve the purposes better. No woman has ever flipped the script successfully in the playbook of dictatorships, but we could have a dictator of peace because peace can be profitable. And I do think that a new queen of the world can maybe be manifested and come and, have a dawn of a new era. Gaddafi had a little pink book that he wrote, and he made every child carry it, and they had it memorized. It was a very simple book about the rules about how to be a good person. Everybody bought into it for decades. Every dictator has used the same script. What we just need to do is flip it on its head and use it for good. Okay, ladies?
This is like, did you ever watch Game of Thrones?
I can't watch anything, really.
Yeah. This is just like the very end of Game of Thrones.
Oh. Is there a benevolent queen?
Yes.
Oh. I think it would be good.
She has dragons.
The retraining camp would
She's the breaker of chains.
If we took all the militaries and reassigned them into these retraining camps, I mean, men would be getting blowjobs all day and taking yoga classes, and we would just
Who's doing the blowjobs?
training them. Well, see, I think we need to decriminalize.
Why is that a part of it?
Decriminalize sex work because the more men release, the more relaxed they are. Do you think a man could go and shoot someone after they fuck? No, they take their shirt off, they relax, they get pleasured, and then they just want to sit around and eat grapes.
Is that like that Robert De Niro movie where he can't bust before a fight?
That's a yoga thing too. Yeah.
What's
like
the
a
yoga
tantra thing, like not coming and recycling your energy and like, getting up to the point of it and then taking all that energy and turning it into something else. But it's just release. Men need to be released of their expectation to be, violent and creating aggressions and maximizing profits against the, suffering of others. They need release. And if that relief comes through pleasure, or if that relief comes through connecting with nature or connecting with their own soul through yoga or any other modality, that would be great. You want acupuncture so you don't fucking bomb the world? Let's get you some acupuncture, right? Let's get you whatever treatment you need to heal your wound.
This is just like when my parents took me to karate class. It's like, listen, brother, something's up with you. How about we try karate?
Did it work?
Amongst other things. We tried a lot of things.
Yeah, we have to keep trying.
Yeah.
Or else we're dead in the water.
Yeah, we tried for years.
You're doing great. I love you just the way you are.
I know, but I exist in the context, what does Kamala say? Of everything around me.
Perception is reality.
Do you think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
I love your little syntax inflection there.
Yeah.
I'm going full Mr. Rogers in my classroom this year.
Good.
Same cardigan every day.
Yeah, the same one.
Procedure. In every, so I have to teach out of the 4 buildings, so I'm going to have a cardigan on each chair and put it on every time. Same procedure. And I'm telling kids, I love you just the way you are. You are perfect just the way you are.
That's a big vibe where I'm at right now is the, just in case no one told you we love you,
yes.
You're in the right place.
Yes.
You're in the right place.
I've ceased using the word right or tried to, so I use correct or valid.
You're correct. I shouldn't.
I love
After
you.
everything we just covered, you
it's
would
hard.
think.
It's hard to abolish that notion of the binary, either gender or linguistic, into your brain because it's so ingrained in there that right is correct and mighty and masculine and dominant and better and over. We are all one. Dr. fucking Bronner, baby. His workers, there's women on that board. They take care of everybody. They give you lunch every day. They give you...
What do they have for lunch there?
Organic, vegan, beautiful food. $6,000 for childcare every year. Lucrative time off. All these benefits. His phrase is all one. Go down the rabbit hole reading his bottle. I have my house.
Who?
Dr. Bronner, the soap maker. His grandson helped me buy my house after I won the Tesla.
He makes soap?
Dr. Bronner's Castile Pure Soap? All one. Come on.
Is it in the bottle?
Yeah, it's in you can get in all flavors and it cleans everything. Your teeth, hair, your clothes.
You put it in your mouth?
You can do anything you want with it.
But what do you use it for?
I hand soap. I dilute it and go
Yeah.
Yeah. You can get it in a bar or in the pure Castile form.
Mm-hmm. Which looks like what?
It's real pure, strong, concentrated soap in liquid form.
Yeah, I
in
have
a
that.
Carton. I traveled Europe for 5 weeks with just the almond flavored one. I never want to see it or taste it again because that's all I had.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. You could have picked up some shit while you were there.
Peppermint's so much better. It makes your bits tingle.
Guys, thanks for coming back to Jacob V Weekly. CaddyshackIL.org, JacobV.com, Patreon.com/JacobV. We're shooting another segment. I have a guest waiting in the wings.
Hi.
Is there, you don't have much content out right now.
Nope. But I'm at Zaza Goodbreak at Instagram, and I am Zaza Goodbreak.
I love you.
I love you.
We got to do this more often.
And just, the one thing that I would love to have people take away is that there is no opposite to love. It has no opposite. So therefore, we are all together in that same force of perfection as we are. We just need some refocusing on not the other, but ourselves. And ourselves meaning everyone.
I think so. It's what makes sense to me.
I'd love to make some more music with you sometime.
Please, and we may even end up doing it here. This
Great.
No Antics has been doing some stuff here, and I've been doing the podcast pretty much here exclusively. Unless I do something for the Patreon, I may shoot it somewhere else. But.
I love some spoken word or something. Maybe
Yeah,
some
just
bass
a little,
lines, some tasty bass lines.
Just some tasty bass.
Yeah. When I rap, I sound like Dr. Seuss these days, and it's just weird, though.
Yeah,
so.
that. You know what though? Maybe we should just go ahead and make a rap album for kids. It's educational.
I've thought about it.
We'd
Yeah.
be the perfect candidates.
Yeah, it would be like our Gaddafi Pink Book, but it would be for the kids.
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
about like the rain cycle, or how to navigate healthy choices in a food desert.
Or why you have to continually clip your toenails, but you only have to have your appendix out one time.
Exactly. Patreon.com/Jacob V. We'll be right back.
You're so generous with your time. Thank you. Could have been a little funnier.
No, what are you kidding? Are you fucking shitting me?
I feel better now.
Ooh! Come on. I'm just gonna let these cool off for a second.
Now it's time to go.
Jeffrey!
Hi, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I'm right behind you.
And I'm behind you.
Everybody's got piss, 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 piss. Everybody's got piss. Can you just turn that off? It's not the red button, but the other one. You just hold it for a second. Yeah, and then this, if you could reach around it. Actually, just unclick. What's up with her?